Just me? Oh, cool. Right, so here we are.
This is Midspace.
We've arrived. Well,
Y'all got your passports for Midspace. They're not just gonna let us in.
I assume we didn't need them,
Yeah,
to
I
be
don't
honest.
think we needed passports. I did bring this cool sticker, holographic.
That is not gonna get you into the underground. Tell you what.
Shit. So where to from here, oh great and wise, powerful DM Dick Dynamite?
Well, hello and welcome everybody to another Lore Dive episode of the Backwater Bastards.
Yes.
I'm your Dungeon Master Dick, and with me, as ever, is the mysterious, manifold, and malnourished
Ah.
Daniel.
Well, I'm doing my best over here. Maybe I'll find myself some lovely food to eat here on Midspace Station.
And the precious, the precocious, and the vaguely presentable Taylor.
The porpoise. That's the only P word I had loaded
the
up.
porpoise. I could have said that as well.
That's all I've got. That's all I've got. Yeah, heck yeah. And we're in Midspace. We're still in Midspace.
Midspace,
we were in
baby.
Midspace last episode, and now we're in Midspace, and we're going to pick at some people.
And
Yes.
leading
Stuff.
us, as always, through this questionnaire now is the mainstream. Betwixt and between, the centermost, the equidistant, and the halfway, it's DM Dick Dynamite.
The peanut butter and jelly.
Oh, I like
Thank
that
you.
one.
Well, we're just going to pick up right where we left off.
And what is that, Dickie?
So in our last Lore Dive, we looked at Midspace, the station. But today we're going to look at Midspace Station, the inhabitants.
Yeah.
So Midspace, dead center of the universe, it is the home of myriad peoples, but first and foremost, it is the home of a pretty serious criminal underbelly of the galaxy. This is a place where gangs can do their deals away from the watchful gaze of the powers that be. There's no cops in Midspace. There's only the crooks that are in charge. Which you could say about any place, am I right?
Yeah, actually, yes. Yeah, that applies.
But the main, the average citizen of Midspace, they're just people. People trying to make their way in a harsh, uncaring galaxy. People like the Backwater Bastards. People who don't necessarily have another home to go to, or at least not one they're welcome at. So you'll find every species, known to the galaxy, they're probably represented somewhere in Midspace. Last time, we looked at Midspace as a space, as a place, as a setting. We covered its origins, how it was put together by all three of the major empires in the known galaxy, how it was built to be essentially sort of a UN type space, a central location by which they would end the war and begin working together, and how that ultimately failed, and how Midspace was squatted and occupied for years and years until it eventually became the criminal-run, lawless hub that it is today. But this time, this new episode, we're going to talk more about those people, those criminals that run the place, the refugees and merchants and all these people that have come and moved and made Midspace their home. And the groups that they form, the different places where they live, the different dynamics between them, the makeups of these groups. We're going to try and cover all of that on this Midspace Station Part 2 of The Inhabitants.
I got questions. And I think other people got questions too, really, because we talked about it already. And
We got a few.
Yeah.
I'm wondering
like,
where my papers are.
you better get your papers for this.
I think these are my papers. There's like a drawing of Dr. Z on it.
Oh, danke schön.
Look at that.
It's lovely.
All right, so last time we learned about mid-space, how big it was, what it was made out of, how everything works, but what we didn't dig into were the zones.
No, we didn't break it up, I guess, into these zones, which is a bit of more of an anthropological pursuit.
The ones we
after all.
know about.
Ooh.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big station. You guys have only been to a few parts of it.
That kills me.
Yeah, we'll explore it all
So
one
I guess
day.
we should work our way out from where we first met the bastards in midspace. So that's downtown midspace.
Downtown.
We call it downtown.
I see Dan like wanting to do it.
Yeah, he's holding back.
I'm holding back, but I will put the sound in.
When someone talks about midspace, so it's like, I
Yeah.
went down to midspace and I bought this, or like, you know, like I'm going to midspace. Like, this is usually what they're talking about. They're not necessarily referring to the station as a whole. You know, someone says midspace, and this is what comes in your mind is these great skyscrapers, all painted different colors, all lit up with an artificial night-day cycle in the sky, busy, bustling streets full of people.
Ooh.
Multiple docking stations and trade hubs and just markets and residential areas. Downtown midspace is that's the section of midspace that's really been kept running. It's got the power turned on. Zuzu has her goons patrolling the area to keep it at least orderly, if not safe.
Mm-hmm.
And the bastards have spent a lot of their time in midspace here. It's where Dietz's bar is. It's where they first ran into Shannon.
Okay, and that's all in the downtown area.
That's the downtown.
Okay, so downtown is just, we've got Dietz, we've got Shannon, and we've got,
Shannon.
so we already just
Shannon.
met Shannon there.
And Pat's shop is there, where we get the carts. We've actually spent a lot of time downtown. I mean, that's where we end up every time we come back.
It's
and
kind of
that's
where we like to hang out.
after we left midspace for a while. That was where we came back to when we first had our first confrontation with Dietz and Zuzu,
Mm-hmm.
where we almost got killed right then and there. And that was the first place we brought Trevor. That was Trevor's first. Was that Trevor's first experience in midspace? I don't know.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know if we've ever found out whether or not Trevor's been to midspace before.
And is Pat's shop technically considered part of downtown, or is that
yeah.
more like the
That's
the
that's
warehouse
definitely
district downtown?
The warehouse district, I mean,
It's like an
I
edge.
think you'd be hard pressed calling it downtown, but it is technically it's part of this zone that we're talking about, the sort of the controlled lit up section.
Yeah. As far as inhabitants in downtown, I mean, these are big players because this is where Dietz is at.
Yeah, that's where the magnificent Keen has now set up his shop.
Set up the
That's
Magnificent
true.
Keen shop. That's brilliant.
It's where Randy lives.
That's true. The party. And we know that Zuzu runs downtown, but does she live there?
Ooh.
I mean, we've never been to Zuzu's house.
trying to get some secrets there, Taylor.
I've only been to Dietz's
I was
bar.
like, oh, I'm going to try it. Dick's like, no, I'm not giving you her address. Get out of here.
I mean, we're going to have to eventually, though. That's actually be quite fun.
I'm picturing like a cyberpunk tower,
Yeah. Oh,
Like
yeah.
a-
So there we go. I'd love to know.
like Die Hard.
How does a building flex in midspace? Because
Yeah.
you know, in the
How
human
do you
world,
know
we
it's a
build
rich
vertically.
building?
But what would Zuzu build to flex? You know, since there's no worries, vertical, horizontal, diags. You
My
know,
God, you could have whatever you want.
you could have whatever you want.
Or
you
can
could,
you?
but I mean, I guess maybe this brings us into talking about Zuzu in general.
Yeah.
You know, where she came from, how she got control, what sort of power and influence she legitimately does have here, and what she is capable of doing with midspace in the
I'm
first place.
sorry, what? Are
Have
you
you got a
trying
little
to say?
backstory of Zuzu for us?
Are you
Well,
trying to say?
Let's not give you, like a full in-depth thing because we might want to use
what's
that
word on the
in
street
a
then?
story thing. But
What's word on the
the
street?
word on the street is Zuzu. Okay, first things first. Zuzu has not been in charge for that long. This
Oh.
isn't like a lifetime position. This
Okay.
isn't something that she was born into. This isn't something that she's, been sort of like a great legacy that she's had for her entire life. Zuzu has fled the Wraith Empire relatively recently, within the last 10 years.
What?
And as, like a big, scary Wraith monarch, just happened to dominate the crime scene in midspace and take over.
Really?
So her control over midspace, although it's absolute right now, she's the most recent in a long line of different controlling peoples.
And so do we,
Oh my
is there
God.
word on the street about who Zuzu took control over from and how Zuzu did it?
I mean, the general understanding is that it was bloody, and that
Okay.
there is nobody from the old gang that were in charge before still here.
And so Zuzu's power, does it spreads across the downtown section of Midspace Station or further?
I mean, Zuzu at least tries to claim that she owns the station, that she controls this entire station.
Wow.
You guys have evidence that that's not entirely true. Like, as soon as you get down into the Night City, they don't have a presence there. They don't have people protecting anything. So, no, I mean, she doesn't have actually as much power as she's given credit for.
Okay.
Also, as she's only had control for a short amount of time, when you're asking things about, like, like what sort of building would she do and flex and so on, there hasn't really been a chance for her to really
Okay.
shape Midspace her own.
Yeah.
She's taken residence in an existing penthouse. She's taken control of a bunch of existing businesses and places.
And we've seen Dietz. We've seen how Dietz is the first general or whatnot for Zuzu.
Yeah.
So, and we saw that Dietz brought a kind of a gang of robots and a few other aliens with them to help us against the red jellyfish. So, is that kind of typical of Zuzu's army across Midspace, or does it run the gamut? Is there many different types of soldiers working for Zuzu?
Well, they work like they're a criminal organization, If you
Yeah.
think organized crime, there are tiers that go down. There are people that have never even met Zuzu who are working for her.
Right.
People who are just enforcing or dealing on street corners, people who are just
Yeah.
making sure that people, like if stolen goods are coming into town, that they're going through her appropriately, that her competitors aren't making all the money, all that sort of thing. So, yeah, I think it really is quite a big cross-section of the kind of people that are living in Midspace. It's anyone who gets tempted by the idea of like, hey, I can make some quick cash by doing some dodgy stuff.
Not dodgy on Midspace, though.
No, not entirely.
Debatable. Debatable. I don't know. We've recently seen some really interesting stuff at the Home Depot, but who,
We
who
weren't
am I
involved
to-
in that, Taylor.
who am I to judge that, Like, what, Okay, the thing that just is striking me, though, is the fact that I'm kind of sitting here realizing we have collected precious little information about Zuzu and her background.
Yeah. We need more.
And she's new at the job.
Mm.
And we're just now hearing that. Like,
When you chew.
like, what has the history of this been? Like, who's been in charge of Midspace? And it's like, who have these people been, and does Cleo and Z know about it? Do they even care? Is it kind of like when you go somewhere and you're like, wow, these are the people who have been the prime minister in a row, and it's like, it doesn't really matter to me because they're all going to screw me somehow. Like,
Well, that's it. I mean, it's kind of irrelevant who was in charge before you were there because, they're not. And there's not necessarily like a lasting legacy for a lot of these players because,
yeah.
it's not like they've come in with like unilateral control. They've had to wrestle that control. And as such, they've always been like a divisive figure. And you find that with Zuzu. You've got like, there's like a literal resistance fighting against her.
Okay.
Did she have to kill somebody?
She definitely had to kill somebody.
I mean, I don't know if I'll keep this in, but I love the little parallel to how in Ralaran, when we were in Ralaran.
We're definitely keeping this.
Oh, right. Okay, I will. I know that when we played in our first campaign, D&D 5th edition campaign, Ralaran, you can get that on Patreon.
Yeah.
There was the kind of main figure that took control of Ralaran, the city-state. And that was a fresh new takeover from a kind of silent criminal underground party. And I like, is that a just kind of a DM Dick question here? Is that a kind of theme that you enjoy in your stories?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, I think it's also like Princess Zuzu was definitely me riffing a little bit on the Keg Queen. Like, I wanted
Griselda,
to have
the Keg Queen.
I wanted to
Yep.
have the same sort of character.
She was brilliant.
Like I really like, like a sort of a shady, friendly to your face, but kind of chilling, like
Terrifying.
organized crime figure. It's just always good fun. And just the notion that like, she won't necessarily get her hands all that dirty, but she'll like click her fingers and 100 people die, like it's...
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a DM Dick favorite.
It's a DM Dick favorite. You hear it first. This is how DM does the magic.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been fun actually to have had the Zuzu takeover be part of the Backwater Bastards mythos and storyline, but I'm afraid that happened before you guys got into town.
Damn it. We were too busy being arrested in a jail.
Yeah. For not doing anything that bad.
Yeah.
So-
So, I mean, what more do we know about Zuzu? We know that she was trying to incubate a Wraith Monarch egg in order to have an heir to her throne. So she has
we kind of
plans.
messed that up.
She has plans to maintain control here and to leave like a lasting legacy.
Oh man, this just makes me want to ask questions about wraiths.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, okay. So we know about Zuzu. I mean, like, who else lives here? Who do we like? Did we get everybody? We got Pat, who is our obvious favorite,
Big favorite. We're clearly hers as well.
and we've got Dietz. Does Bobby live in Bobby lives downtown.
I mean,
Ooh.
I feel like Bobby, because like we saw Bobby on TV in Prospect Town,
Yeah.
but to me, I mean,
I feel
Bobby.
like Prospect Town seems too like well.
Yeah,
I don't
Prospect
know.
Town is like that's that's the sort of the provinces, isn't it? Like,
Australia.
Yeah.
They're getting their news from America.
Yeah.
you got to be downtown. I mean, I think Bobby probably lives uptown.
What is uptown?
Oh.
Well, if downtown is like that's the place where everything's going on, uptown is just the purely residential districts.
Okay.
Oh my god. We don't even know about uptown.
We might need to start hanging out with Randy again and try and get our ins to Uptown.
Yeah. Because like have we even been to uptown? Was that where Keen's party was?
I mean, Randy's party was just, as far as you guys saw, was just sort of inside a random building. But that's what uptown looks like in this space. Because I mean, uptown sounds classy, but you got to remember this is mid-space.
Yeah.
Ultimately, these are just
Oh.
like zones where people have like decided, like, okay, these are where these buildings are going to be used for this thing.
Mm.
Do we know like anything about it? Like who lives in uptown? Just Bobby.
I mean-
Bobby owns uptown.
As people that can afford to like buy or rent, these proper big residential areas, flats and flats and
High-rise
penthouses
people.
and so forth.
These are the condo people.
Because you've seen as well, like the sort of the slum type areas where there's just like people packed in like sardines into these buildings. The cheap rent.
Yeah. So the place that we found Reese, is that technically downtown?
Ooh.
I mean, the hole that you jumped
Yeah,
down.
the whole.
That was downtown. That was in one of Zuzu's buildings that they'd drilled down.
Think about how many other holes there probably are. We haven't even found yet.
So many.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
many holes.
how many times do you think they had to drill before they found like a safe path all the way down to the core?
We are going to have to find those holes and plug them up because people are going to find our lair.
They will. Or we could
And
leave
that's
them
a
open
problem.
and then we've got extra outs. Ventilation.
But they got to have a secret trapdoor.
Free aircon.
Free aircon.
Free aircon. It's not hot underground.
Yeah. And so when we fly in to Mid Space Station and we dock up, I'm assuming that must be near downtown because that's where we showed up straight away. Where are the docks compared to downtown, and what do the docks look like?
So there's a few docks, and rather than those docks being near downtown, downtown is built around those.
Okay.
Because this place, it was an unfinished
Cool.
city that's been settled by people who have just sailed in just to see what they can do. Like there's a whole new world. We could take up a piece of it,
Yeah.
and eventually it's all been codified to the point where like someone like Princess Zuzu can claim to own the buildings and charge rent for them. But initially, it was all squatters. So people, you come in to a dock, get some power going and hotwire the airlocks so that you can get into the dome without inside outing mid-space and so on.
Yeah.
And you start building a spaceport around the existing sort of military structure that would have been there originally. And so if you're going to occupy a building, you're going to start there and work your way out. So the ports are actually very central in downtown mid-space.
I love that.
There's one of them,
Yeah.
you guys sort of came and left to it just walking from Dietz Bar, if you'll remember.
I feel like that's such a cool facet of old cities that the port used to be the
Yeah.
like center of activity.
Yeah.
And I feel like in the modern, like today in a modern city, the port is kind of off to the side a bit.
I always love when you see pictures of like old Carthage. And the Carthage had like the
Yeah.
big circle built. The dock was like a circle built in the water type thing, and then the city's built around that. I just love those pictures. But now that you're saying that people are hot wiring things and then barnacling onto an existing structure, I'm wondering, are there even power companies, utility bills or anything? Like, surely no one's paying for power or water if everyone's just kind of hitched onto the back of a thing.
Well, that's part of being in control of Midspace.
Okay.
Zuzu is the utilities.
Right.
The reason why you have to rent your buildings from her is that she keeps the lights on. The reason why you would even want to rent one of the ones from her instead of going and getting a free one in the Night City is that they have power, that the night sky above
they've allowed
is lit
the
up.
connections to stay stable enough for those buildings.
Yeah, so like as a landlord, that's at least the one thing she is providing, is she is keeping the stuff all hooked up.
Okay, so it's not just
Well done.
fair and protection money. There's also some utilities to paying your taxes to Zuzu.
I mean,
Do you think she
ultimately,
actually cares?
She cares a little bit. Oh, she sounds like she cares.
But I mean, she wrested that from someone else, who wrested that from
Why is
someone
she
else.
even here?
And if you go
What did
back
she
far
do?
enough,
What
there
did
would have
she
been,
do?
I
180 there,
imagine
Sheila.
if you sort of go back, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, there would have been like some like really naive commune who set up the original grid and got this thing going,
Yep.
and it was for the betterment of all of Midspace, and then some criminal organization came in and just took it.
Yep. If you've got a go bag and you think that's going to save you during an apocalypse or whatnot, all it is you're looking after it till the next hard person comes along to take it off you.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
Sheesh. I've met so many people who are like, this is my go bag. It's got all the supplies I need.
Wait, hold on. Can we unpack this go bag for a second?
Yeah.
How you've met a lot of people with a go bag?
Yep. Well, they've shown me proudly. This is
Really?
my go bag.
And in an apocalypse, I'll grab this and go.
I'll
How
grab
many
this.
people? I need you to quantify this because I want to know how often this is happening to you.
Okay, 3 that come immediately to mind.
And did they prompt this or did you?
Yeah. They showed me it.
They were just like, you'll want to see this.
Yeah,
Look
they
what
were
I've
like,
done.
here is my go bag. How cool is this? It's got everything I need in it. And then I've got more supplies at home. And I had to tell them,
What do they have?
that's
in
not
there?
for you. That's for the next person who beats you up. Like, there's no point having this thing if you can't look after it.
How do you know they couldn't look after it?
Yeah, there might be a little knife in their go bag.
My go bag does not have a knife in it.
I'll just say,
It has something way worse.
as a concept artist, there's not many of us that do concept art. I just broke my voice while saying it. That do concept art while also being
Drop the ball.
pretty, swift with the hands and feet.
So you're saying
Sheesh.
that concept artists can't fight?
Nope, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that if you've got a go bag, it's not yours. You're just looking after it for the next person.
I think that like me and Dick, if we had a go bag, we'd be keeping it.
You reckon?
Yeah, I'd swing it. Yeah, you want to take my go bag? Oh, I'll swing it round and round.
I'm coming
It's
for your
gonna-
go bag.
I don't know
Try-
if you
try-
know
try
this
and take
about
it
me,
now.
but like I'm out of my mind.
I'm coming for your go bags. You can pay me
You can
rent.
fucking, you know what? You can try to get this bag. You could try to get this bag.
Has it got
The
beans
thing
in
is,
it?
yeah, I
It's
mean,
mine.
I don't know. Like, what sort of apocalypse are we
It
talking
might.
about that this go bag is actually useful? We're
We're getting
Well,
off topic. We're gonna have to come back to this another time. If you want to
okay,
hear
you
more
know
chats
what?
like
We
this,
do-
join us on Sidearm on our Patreon.
Let me just say one thing. You do have to actually specify if it's like a Waterworld go bag or if it's like a.
No, this is a land-based go bag.
Well, that's not even what's probably going to happen to us too, because it's like, is Waterworld coming or is it going to be Desert
Iceland,
World?
you're fine. Iceland's going to grow in landmass as the world sinks down. As the world sinks, the plate that Iceland sits on is actually going to rise more. So Iceland's going to gain territory.
Great.
So you're fine. Anyways, if you want to hear more riveting chat like this, you can come join us on Patreon.
Because we do this all the time. It's called Sidearm.
Yeah, we derail like this into something nothing to do with our official topics at hand, and we have to do something with that footage. And if you want to hear it, go hear it.
Yeah.
People are like, no, I don't want to hear that.
They want to hear about midspace. So, we're in midspace. I would like to know, we've seen Dietz's bar, and it's pretty poppin', and we like it. We love it. We
Yeah,
enjoy it.
we like it. We like
I'm
it.
actually kind of sad that we didn't stay friends with Dietz right at the start, because I would have
We're
liked...
friends now.
We're friends
We're
now.
friends now.
But it's been a place that I've missed over our campaign, and I'm very glad that we're at least welcome back.
Good thing we can go back in there.
Yeah, but there must be other big bars across downtown, and are there?
Downtown has a kickin' nightlife.
Does it?
Downtown is one of those places because, I mean, I've based Midspace in a lot of ways off London. And it's one of those places, like, a lot of people come, just for a weekend, just to I want to go to this famous place, and we're going out tonight, we're getting drunk, and we're going to have a good time.
Nice.
So, yeah, if you know where to look, Midspace has a lot of night spots. It's got nightclubs, it's got bars, it's got
I'm ready for this.
Yeah.
Because you know what? Here's the thing.
Tell us.
In our last episode, Cleo stole a coupon book
Oh, yeah.
for a tentacle
24-hour
tentacle crawl.
eateries.
Yeah, we're doing a tentacle crawl.
fried tentacle crawl and like a bar experience, like a pub crawl, a group pub crawl, mystery group pub crawl.
Yeah.
And the thing is like we definitely have to do like another thing to deserve like an outing because that's the pattern.
Yeah.
But when we finally do, that's what I want to do.
I mean, I think that's a really fun episode idea. So suffice to say, I think we can get a bit more specific about bars when we visit some of them.
Oh, yes. Okay, well, I want to visit all of them. Z is a bit of a collector, and I want to collect places just as much as things. So, looking forward to that. So is there anything else you want to let us know about downtown Midspace before we move on to another zone?
Well, I guess I just did touch on the notion that it is a bit of a tourist mecca. Like, it is a place where people just come, you know, like, we're flying through neutral
I was
space.
like, I'm not going to be the one to say it, but
Don't
I
worry,
did a
Tate,
face.
I got you.
We're flying through neutral space. We'd better stop off in Midspace. Like,
Yeah.
Good.
we're silly
cool.
not to, right? Like, you don't have to have a visa. You might have to do a little bribe at the gates, but really, you know, like, if you're not on Zuzu's radar, you can just come in and, you know, spend your money in Midspace.
Well,
So there's always, you know, like sort of like a few like
Wow.
gawking, wide-eyed people just sort of like trotting around who don't really know what's going on, much to the dismay of the locals. But it is also a very fluid population. People pop in and maybe they stay. You know,
I feel like
People
it might
leave.
be the because here in Berlin, it's you know, the people that dress up the most and are like ready to go out the most are like usually the tourists, right? The ones who've come here for that experience, and then the Berliners will be the ones that are kind of like just wearing a hoodie and look like they've just like popped outside to go to the shops briefly, you know. And so I wonder if that's you know, how you can tell apart a mid-spacer from an out space person.
I think there might definitely be something to that, but then again, this is quite a colourful world that we're creating. So you find a bit of all sorts. There'll be like some very extravagantly dressed locals as well,
Nice.
and just like, you know, like entire groupings, you know, like just forms of like cultural dress that are just wild as shit. Just
Love
because we're talking about representatives of not just multiple nations but multiple worlds. So it's cosmopolitan squared.
I like that. But here's the thing. We've been downtown, but we've also been in a hole. And that was a memorable day for all of us.
It was pretty good.
It was pretty great.
Yeah.
And it was the first episode.
Yep.
Or was it was the 00 episode. No, it was the first episode. It was the first episode.
because Harry was there.
Yeah. It was all of us, and we had to go on a quest into the trash pit. And so when we did that, even though the trash pit was located in a building in downtown, technically, was it the underground?
I think it was deeper than that. You kind of fell down past the underground into the sort of central core of Midspace. I mean, you weren't really in the core. You were just sort of, you know, on the outside of the giant ball of trash that makes up the inside of Midspace. Because you got to think, Midspace
Accurate.
is built in a vaguely orb-like. If it
Yeah.
had been finished, it would have been a sphere. But the trash inside definitely is closer to being a sphere. And the majority of the density of this station is just that big old ball of trash. So that drill just through the city plates and through the underground dropped down as close as possible to the projected location of Reese, of the ship. But there's an entire, like, you know, like a world down there that is huge.
Yeah.
Not quite as big as the city, but not significantly smaller, realistically. There's just a plate on top of it where the city is built on.
And we had no idea when we were down in that trash pit how much stuff we were technically
We
nearby.
were just. It's like, you know, when you're playing a video game and they chuck you into the final zone and you don't even realize you're there or near it.
You don't even know. You
And
don't even
then-
know. And this is like the circle moment.
And you're just racing to get to the next thing because you're just wide-eyed and excited.
Mm-hmm.
We were there right in amongst all that trash.
Oh.
Glob,
And
damn
this
it.
is that moment because we started in a hole
We'll end in a hole.
Yeah, and we're in one right now.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yes.
what else is there even?
Hmm.
What
So
else
do we
really
want
is there?
to? Do we want to talk about the mid-space underground?
Let's take us
Kinda, yeah.
underground. What's
Take
that,
us there.
What's that line from Labyrinth? Down
I
in the
come from a land
underground.
down under.
You'll find someone true down in the underground.
Yeah, that.
It's underground. It's underground. What's the
So
words
no-
there? What's that line?
I come from a land down
I
under.
couldn't tell you.
No. Da-da-da.
Watch out, cause gonna chanda.
Don't chanticleer.
We're underground, everybody.
We're underground.
That's what the
Transition
smell is.
sound.
That's what the smell is.
So the underground, loosely, is everything beneath that armored plate that makes up the sort of the ground level of midspace. So you've got
Okay.
sewers, you've got the trash core, but you've also got the underground train system, a long forgotten piece of infrastructure that was never actually set up to run, for any long lasting time. There's evidence, mainly the maps, the historic maps that Boris has got his hands on, the
Okay.
actual train that you guys found
Yep.
in the station. There's evidence that at some time it was running, but certainly not any time recently.
Well,
So that's
I
just a
think
sort of
Boris
a forgotten
may
network.
have reinvigorated that old piece of tech.
Yes. Well, that's it. I mean, the Backwater Bastards, at least the train system, it's kind of their playground.
The trains
You
are
know
running
that
again.
there are mushrooms down there. The mushrooms, there's a lot of them in the Night City, but there's also loads of them all throughout the underground. They thrive in the darker spaces.
Hey.
And there's other stuff down there too. I guess we now know that the green thoughts creature is just a mature
Mycelium.
the mycelium.
Oh, I love it though.
The mycelium.
The adult mushroom, once they just become like spores on the wind.
But what else is down there? Like we know that's down there, and we know about the mushrooms, and we know Jordan is down there because we left him.
Eating the rat bats.
Yeah,
Yeah,
little
the
bear
rat bats
rats.
are down there. Is that
Right.
it?
That's it, to our knowledge.
Oh boy,
keep
that
your
means there's a bunch
secrets.
of other shit.
But Midspace is a big old place, and you guys can't possibly have been the first or only people to think of going underground to find somewhere to live.
What?
Yeah,
Of course,
so-
we're the first people to think about this.
Because I remember in Hamilton, where we come from, Dickie, there was that train tunnel that in central downtown Hamilton.
Yeah. And if you walked down the tunnel, you would eventually find the old station.
Yeah, but to do that walk was pretty terrifying as well.
That sounds super scary.
Because there was no lights, it was all dark, and you had
No.
the stories of the classic horrible things that happened down that tunnel, and there were spirits, and there were ghosts, and there were people that still did those things, and so I never did walk down that tunnel because I is scared.
So you've never seen the old train
I
station?
never saw the old train station.
Dick, did you do it?
Yeah, I mean, it was just legitimately, it was just a bit of concrete. It's like, I'm walking along the edge of the tracks, and now I fit. Now it's wider. It's like a platform. Like, that's all it was.
So if we lived in midspace, I would, as me, not as Z, because Z is a hero, but as me, I would be too terrified to
right.
walk or jump down that hole.
But I would make you do it so that
You probably would, yes. So would I see walking around midspace these types of holes or entranceways in other places? And would they be ominous? Are they welcoming?
Definitely ominous.
Oh.
Because here's the thing, like, Midspace is already a hive of disreputable scum.
Yeah.
So the kind of people that are then going to I'm not going to rent a place from Zuzu where I could be literally an assassin for hire, have like my business card when I rent the place, and she'd be like, cool, just pay me the money, you can live here. Anyone who wants to can just rent these places as long as they're not on her radar as an enemy.
Yeah.
So anyone that is, hesitant to do that and wants to find alternative residents
Yeah.
should be you should be scared of them. So who is in these little tunnels? Who is hiding down there?
So we're not the only mutant turtles living down here.
There's no way you are.
Oh my
Okay.
god. We have neighbors.
We've got doors now, Toad Taylor. We've got doors.
So obviously
we
there's
have
going to be
enough?
people who are
We need more
desperate,
doors.
people who don't have enough money and are just willing to brave it, people who are homeless.
Okay.
All right,
But
you just
also-
made it dark.
But also you're going to have like criminals who are working directly in opposition to Zuzu. Yeah, maybe you've got like that one hired gun who's come in to kill someone that's under the protection of Zuzu.
Yeah.
They've got to hide out somewhere. And underground is the perfect place for that kind of thing.
And now that you've
I
said
see.
that, it's made me realize that Shannon and the revolutionaries, I don't think they're hiding out underground, because one of their main entrances is to slide down from above. You know, you wouldn't develop a piece of tech to get around the town if it's your second way of approaching. Makes me think that that's their main way of approaching. I know that's something to say for a little bit when we get to the Night City, but there's many options for gangs and groups down here.
yeah. Well, I mean, you go up high if you want to watch. You go
Yes.
down low if you don't want to be seen.
Okay.
Jeez.
Jesus. Jesus.
But I mean, you know what this means for us.
You know.
What does this
I know.
primarily
You
mean
know
for
what
us?
this means for us, Dickie.
We have to explore these tunnels immediately.
Yes, and you've got a bit of a head start because Boris
Yep.
is,
And Boris-
is obsessed with the ancient trains and with
Incredible.
the old underground maps.
Thank Glob.
And he has, just through his connections, through his basically being in the scene of the weirdos that collect that sort of thing, he has an ancient map,
Well,
which
thankfully,
is proven
someone
to
does.
be, it's proven to be useful. It's got you in here.
And didn't he eliminate digital maps
Oh.
Yes.
so that other people couldn't?
Boris.
Yes, we
Catch up.
we did sort of briefly mention that, but yes, like him and Z have put their heads together, and they've managed to get rid of any public copies of
That
this
was
map.
this Z1 or me Z?
You Z.
Okay. No, I'm just... Look, I just want to check that other Z hasn't started encroaching on my territory of
Don't worry,
friendship.
they're out there. They're
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
They're out there, and someday they're gonna strike, and you're not gonna be ready for it.
I don't think you can be ready for that.
No.
But yeah, the trains and just the general the layout of the city are like a relic of the Terran presence in the building of Midspace. That's that's a big part of the reason, because Boris, like his interest in, I guess, archaeology,
Yeah.
you might call
Yeah.
it, or at least history. He's a history buff, but it is all like ancient Terran stuff because that's what he knows, and that's why.
Well, that
He
makes
has
me think immediately
secret
of
map.
how when the English were inhabiting cities that were previously owned and occupied or built by the Romans, and they had absolutely no idea who had built these massive structures. So they saw aqueducts that were broken, and they saw these massive marble bath systems, and they had no idea how these buildings were built, what they were used for, or anything. They're just these people living in the remnants of giants. And we're here on Midspace. Do people understand how these systems work, or have they looked at this train system and just gone, "What's that? Don't know."
I think it's mostly the latter.
Yeah.
Because you got to think, like, in a world where you can get a ship that literally just hovers, it can float in midair, basically defying gravity. It can go around the place. You can get a thing that you can literally carry on your back and install it in there, and it will let you practically teleport around the galaxy. These things exist. So what good is a train?
Well,
Really?
I mean, I hear you, yeah, but it's pretty cool.
People have just, they've never encountered them. They don't, and you had Trevor's immediate disgust at the notion because he's not a romantic about the past like Boris is. He doesn't really understand
He doesn't get it.
that there's more to a train
that
than
boy.
just being an outdated mode of transport.
Yeah.
It has a
Yeah, he
romance
doesn't
to
get
it.
it. We don't expect him to get it.
Okay, so
Ever.
we may see more ancient systems throughout the underground of Midspace then, not just
hope
the
so.
trains. Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's a really fun line of inquiry.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
And like learning some more about the history of Midspace might give us some more insight into the war and Reese
Yeah.
and all these other things.
Okay, I'm sold. I'm
Because
in.
all that stuff is naturally tied together.
Yeah.
I'm in.
As you say, like trains are such a simple tech, have been forgotten. Just be so interesting to think about what other simple techs could have been forgotten. But,
Yeah.
when used against a highly advanced opponent, actually become such a simple solution to
Because
a
it's going
problem.
to be Ewoks.
Yeah, you just gotta use some logs and knock them together. Or roll them down a hill.
What was old is new again.
Old is new again.
Give it 20 years. It'll be hot again. Look around. See all these people wearing baggy ass jeans, think they look good?
Yeah.
Yes, so did we
Yeah.
25 years ago.
Yeah. And we don't see us going on about it.
We thought that looked good too.
Yeah.
We
then-
have the common sense to realize we were wrong.
Actually, no, it looks pretty good on all
It
these
looks
kids
great. You
because
all
they're
look
not
cool.
because they don't have COVID weight and like plus 30 plus weight. Once you get
Oh, don't
to be
Taylor.
a certain
Don't.
sorry, look, I'm saying it.
yeah.
I'm saying it. I went to H&M and tried one of those on. It's not for adults.
No.
Bye. Anyway, you know what though? A thing that I want to talk about to make myself feel better in this moment. The mushrooms.
Oh.
The mushrooms of mid-space. I have a lot of questions about them.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
the obvious questions, where the hell did they come from? How did this happen?
Obvious.
But the important question, how is their growth affecting the drug trade? Which we know exists because
Yeah.
we have Randy the Candyman.
yeah, I mean,
Candyman.
your initial introduction to the cult was through them being like dealers in mushroom
Yeah.
related drugs to Randy and his friends.
Yeah. And they were immediately not interested in being our friends when we didn't buy any, which sounds about
But
right.
I mean, obviously, like they must have been funding the One True Leader's operation somewhat. It's hard to say whether or not that stuff will keep going with the resistance or not. Whether or not they actually want to deal
That's
in
the
drugs.
thing. Now
Or is
that
that
the
drug
cult
trade
is
gonna
like
dry up?
dispersed, what the hell's going to happen? Did we just stop the drug trade?
Well,
just stops drugs.
there's a lot of different kinds of drugs.
We thought we were saving mid-space, but what we did was win the war on drugs.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
And we
people
are sorry.
people are going to be
We
taking less
apologize.
mushrooms, but like this is going to be taking the synthetic stuff made in the dodgy,
They
like
can't be taking the mushrooms now that we know they're
downtown
sentient.
labs.
We have to stop it.
Oh my
Because
god!
at least if they eat a
everything's-
tentacle, the tentacle's grown in a lab. It's a lab grown tentacle.
we gotta solve this mushroom problem because they can't be eating those things now that we know them.
Yeah. That's like the whole Pokemon conundrum, you know?
Yep. Well, that's upsetting.
All right.
But we can be sad about it in our house,
Yes.
which we have now.
Yeah.
You know, the underground is definitely an interesting place, but maybe the most interesting thing about it is the fact that we finally have a lair,
Yeah, and this lair, like
and that's where it is.
It's
I mean,
where
last
it's at.
episode we
not
did
tell
our
anyone.
we did our Gome Depot shopping excursion, so we kind of know now how the bastards are turning this into a bit more of a homely environment. It's a train station,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean it has to keep looking like one. It's got rooms, it's got individual spaces. You can set up a bathroom section. You can each have your own little private spaces. It's got a big communal living area where you can have different zones for eating, zones for hanging, zones for working on the ship. Pile of junk for Boris to build things with.
Oh, I just want the video game. Oh,
Yeah,
give it
basically.
to me.
But we bought a bunch of stuff too, so
Yeah.
it's like
We're
we're really
doing
going to do it.
upgrades.
We're
But
really
yeah.
going to do it.
The good thing about the Bastard Lair is that there's one way in the front and one way in the back. So your front door,
Whoa.
which
Taylor?
is soon
Okay.
to soon to actually be a door with decorative cats,
Debatable.
is that just heads out over a sheer cliff face.
Oh, which has got to be one of the coolest things. I love it when you describe the waterfall of sewage that we fly in and out of to get to our base. It's so
just
cool.
out over the night city.
Yeah.
But the other direction, your back door, as it were,
Okay.
heads straight to downtown.
Yeah.
That's so dang cool.
That is
And then
so
the
dang
station
cool.
itself, there are the remnants of what would have been a stairwell at one point, but it's long ago been caved in and buried under just mid-space plating. It looks as though, from what you've seen so far, at least, that all the stations were just paved over because nobody was using them.
Well,
Ooh.
time to reclaim.
I mean, you can only find out what lies out to the back, but the bastards have their own little enclosed space in there.
That's super cool.
Enclosed spaces.
Hmm.
Oh my god. Like, I realized that we had enclosed spaces. I knew about our rooms on Reese. I don't think I realized that we had compartments in the lair.
We're going to be able to build such a cool cafeteria. It's going to be
I
grand.
am like not even sure what I'm going to build because I thought I knew. I wanted to crap up the common area first. That was going to be my shtick. Like, I definitely wanted to move in and do like a tarp situation, like arrange my gomes,
Yep.
roll out some astroturf.
Oh, yeah.
I love
like-
the whole AstroTurf and Garden Gome kind of look.
Yes, I just wanted to kind of like jazz it up a little bit, you know?
And
the place
we
where
will.
everybody has to be.
All right. So now that we've done the deep underground.
The deep underground.
I guess we need to look at what happens when you do fly out over that cliff, looking down onto the night city beyond.
It's time to go to the Night City.
Night City.
The Night City. So the Night City, or the Undercity, we refer to it as being like a separate city, but really it's the entire space that hasn't been powered up. It's that excess mid-space that maybe they couldn't afford. When they set up downtown, they just couldn't really afford to get more of it running. So they had to
That's
draw a
what
line
happened?
somewhere. Yeah, that you got to draw a line somewhere.
How irresponsible.
Yeah.
And so the Undercity, the Night City, refers to that entire dark side of midspace, the sprawling sections of it that haven't been lit. The closest part of the Night City from where you guys have already run and where the bastards live on that border is legitimately down a cliff from uptown, which is like a clear point. Like, okay, we're going to stop powering at the cliff.
Yeah.
And has these big, incredibly tall, spiry buildings that look like they were designed to hold just thousands upon thousands of people. But again, like they've never really been inhabited aside from the few people that are down there. And all we've really come across is the cult, the One True Leaders cult, and the Darks Revolutionaries, led by Channon.
So can we assume that down there in the Undercity, in the Night City, they have their own systems for docking and getting spaceships loaded and unloaded around there? And if it's unpowered, how does that look?
Well, officially, they do not.
Okay.
There are no docking stations that at least are that are permanently powered, that are running in the Night City. But that said, it would be possible to land a ship on the exterior of midspace, hook up your own batteries and jury rig the thing, hotwire it to get in through one of the other openings.
Nice.
So it's possible that
Yeah.
the revolutionaries have been doing this to get things in and out without having to go through Zuzu.
Okay.
It's really hard to know. But the original settlers, the people that came to midspace, that's what they had to do. So there is precedence. It is possible.
You know how sometimes you see an apartment building and you see a cord coming out of like one window
Yeah.
going into like somebody else's plug?
Yeah.
That's
and it's not
Night
just
City.
a cord. There's a 4-way adapter with another
Oh,
extension
shit.
plugged into it to maximize length.
Yeah,
And like
it's
that
like
part
when,
for some
when
reason
you
is
hook your
hanging out the
hose
window.
up to somebody else's house.
And I imagine these ones are probably like fucking thick cables just going
Yeah.
from outside. Oh, I mean, there's nothing cooler than seeing
Thick.
just sci-fi buildings with cables covering the whole thing. That's fucking great.
I thought you were about to say something like, "There's nothing cooler than a thick cable than
nothing
getting
cooler
to
than
see
there's
a,
nothing cooler than a thick cable.
than a thick cable."
Well, you've not
Plugs
seen.
in.
You've not really seen how the residents of the Undercity are living beyond the fact that there are definitely fires burning in some of those buildings.
Jesus Christ!
And now I'm thinking again. I mean, I know I just said about the revolutionaries scaling down the buildings, but I realize now that the top of those buildings would be midspace station, and then the bottom is just going down into the darkness of space as those towers kind of sprout away from it. So that device that they scale the building down on, can it also be used to help them scale back up?
That's interesting. I never envisioned it as such.
Or is it like a whee and then gotta walk all the way back?
Yeah, climb up the stairs, man, back up.
Yeah.
As well, like you know that the elevators aren't going
Exactly.
in any of those
So
buildings.
have they made this device so that it can go up and down?
Oh no, I mean that device doesn't go up.
Oh, poor revolutionaries.
They get their cardio in.
They do. All right. So when we talk about the Undercity and the Night City, I mean, I think immediately about like 40K kind of hive cities where you have populations that never see the sunlight, never even see above their kind of level that they live on. Is midspace big enough that that could happen, that there could be entire groups of people that have never seen above the level they live on? Or is it not that big? Is it, you know?
It is big. So if there were multiple generations of people living down there, then that's what would happen. But midspace, for the most part, is not a very multi-generational town.
Okay.
Like a lot of people have kids and decide to live somewhere else.
Yeah. You got to get off this rock.
I can't imagine why.
We all did it, right? we,
Oh, right. Whoops.
Whoopsie.
Whoops.
I realized as I answered I can't imagine why. I was like, oh, she's being sarcastic, and you're already talking, Daniel. Stop it.
But yeah, I mean, mid-space has a very shifting population. There's not a lot of families. There's a lot more single and ready to mingle, perhaps, or like just gangs and small groups.
Mm-hmm.
The Night City, we know very little about, but it is mostly people who are, at least for the meantime, politically unaligned with downtown.
Mm-hmm.
But if you recall, Zuzu only wrested power within the last decade.
Okay.
So a lot of people that have moved into the Night City may well have been perfectly welcome in mid-space proper not so long ago.
So they could be there biding their time, getting ready to, move back uptown.
Oh.
And the Night City is definitely it's that sort of place where nobody can annoy you. Nobody can hassle you. You can go there and you can just, it's almost like living off the land because it's not hooked up to the grid. So if you want power, you got to have your own generator or you got to run it from a starship. If you want light and warmth, you just light a fire in one of the buildings because that's, without bringing an entire sort of geothermal sort of infrastructure into the area because it's unpowered, so it's cold. The easiest way is just light a fire. And you saw that with the cultists and just with the small groups of like huddled people that you saw when you're in the Night City, that there's campfires are a big thing there.
I can't wait to dig into that.
Yeah.
Because there is stuff.
Yeah.
And do you think that Shannon is hiding out in there? Is that their home base now?
Yeah, I mean, Shannon is hiding out there. Shannon has claimed the Night City as his own.
But you know what? I think Cleo and Z are pretty good at doing stealth missions, and I think it would be fun to go back and just flex our stealth muscles again. But I also am thinking, okay, we've seen what K2 can provide in terms of weapons. We know what Keen can provide in terms of weapons. We know that Dietz and Zuzu keep everything pretty well armed. I would love to go shopping in the Night City if we ever get the chance. See what kind of treats the Night City can offer.
Find those communities that are truly outside of society.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, right? We haven't gotten to explore that zone, and we haven't really gotten to explore the underground either. So these are two known areas that we just don't really know much about. We just know where they are, and we've seen them a little bit, and we've visited.
We know that it can be explored because we've seen enough of it that it showed up on our maps as a space.
And that's the thing.
Yeah.
That gray space, it's filled in now, has a name. Have we been to all of it?
No.
Absolutely not. We're getting the Explorer's Achievement. We've touched about 0.6% of it,
side quests.
And we're pretending like we know it.
Yeah.
And we don't.
Love it.
And that's what we know about. There's way more, I guess, that we don't know about.
Yeah.
And who knows what that is? We can't tell you. We can't tell you about that in this lore episode. And so that means one day in the far off future, there's going to have to be a revisitation to mid-space zones if we find something new.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's more of what you call the Night City than there is downtown, There's a lot of wild, unpowered mid-space.
Would you say that that's all the Night City, or would you say that it's actually separate places?
Well, these could be zones that we have not yet discovered that you don't even have names for. But definitely as downtown aliens, you would definitely just call it all the Night City, at least at the moment with your current knowledge.
Okay, so this is just the area. These are the region names, but we've still got so much we can explore. Love it, and I cannot wait to get down into the unpowered Undercity.
But what more can we say? I mean, we've covered the zones, but the general people of mid-space, the culture, the way of life there.
Yeah.
Do we want to cover that a little bit?
Yeah, let's cover it a little bit.
So, ignoring the Night City for now, who again we're so ignorant about the more cultural workings there, mid-space is generally a city. It's a city, and it functions much like any other city, aside from the fact that there's no real law and order, there's no citizenship. So there are all sorts of communities within the city, people who have especially you get refugee groups, people who didn't necessarily come here for opportunity. They just came here because it was one of the only places they wouldn't be struck out against, one of the only places where they're actually relatively safe. So you've got like, groups that are at war that have their homelands taken over, all that sort of thing. Mid-space is where some of these people end up. So there are entire communities, all from like maybe a single system somewhere, who've all taken over a block.
So this is like Garcia Station, similarly, in the you had the people who had fled both sides of the Wraith, the synths, and to come together to live on Garcia Station. And
well,
just
Garcia
on a grander
specifically
scale,
had that dichotomy of those two places. And Midspace has got, a lot of people from those as well. But yes, Midspace being like a bigger station and having a lot more unclaimed space has, over the years, definitely got factions and groups and just little pockets of people from all over the place. But ultimately, it does function as a unified city. People mostly get along. People mostly trade with one another, help one another out. It's a good place where cultures mix and intermingle, where you can get food from anywhere in the galaxy.
Yeah.
You can import any item, including the restricted ones.
Love that. And can you give us any insight as to what the current fashions of Midspace are? Where are they getting their inspiration from? And what are the people's inhabitants wanting to adorn themselves with these days?
So Midspace fashion, you've got a lot of wannabe gangster stuff, a lot of wannabe pirate stuff, because a lot of people here do identify as being a member of an organized crime family or being a pirate who's just docking for a drink.
Yeah.
And as such, like a lot of those sorts of people, they do go for the more garish, showy, like, you want to mess with me kind of outfits. There's a lot of people who do just go around in kind of tactical gear.
Okay, yeah, they're being cool.
We're talking armor. Open
whatever
carry,
they were, they're
open carry
keen
blasters.
now.
Yeah. Keen is the peak.
Yeah, so keen on that front, on the whole tactical gear and armor, but like fashionable. I mean, Keen is making waves. Keen is the trendsetter for that sort of thing.
And we are the face of it.
Yeah, the face of the Midspace pirate.
Never forget. Never forget.
Come on,
we're
what's
the
cooler
poster
than the
children.
slippery, furry jelly bear?
Well,
but it is also
not much.
It's home to a whole lot of, much like Garcia Station, of Wraith and Synth defectors, people who have left either their war band or the Synth army. And Synths, as you know, have a real love of art and individuality. And particularly Synths who actually leave the army, they are really big on expressing themselves in bold ways.
Yeah.
So you find that a lot of Midspace is painted in these big primary colors, like each section of a building painted to reflect the person living inside there. Synths themselves can get a body job. They can paint themselves out to look how they want. They can replace exterior components. And synth fashion in Midspace is probably be one of the leading places of synth fashion, because in the Synth army, it's all utilitarian. You've got what you're given. You're not allowed to modify your body. That's, you've been made for a purpose. Whereas Synths living in Midspace, they can really experiment and play with that. So there's a lot of comings and goings in terms of, sleek versus bulky, of like chrome and minimalist versus colored and geometric.
Oh, so cool.
And the fashion moves very fast for Synths. Everything they do culturally is very quick because their brains can process it quicker than a living being.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Jeez. Jeez.
And then you have an entire class of bipedal humanoid type creatures, particularly humans, and their fashion is going to be coming straight from New Terra, because New Terra is the center of the Empire. You've got all these occupied worlds who have been brought into the Empire, a myriad of species who all have been at least partly folded into Imperial culture, which does mean that you have kind of high fashion and just like mainstream fashion coming out of New Terra that even as far as Midspace really does influence things.
Love it. heck, you have painted such a cool picture of mid-space. I can just imagine now an even more vibrant station than I could before. And, well, heck, I want to get back into exploring.
I want to go there.
Yes.
Right now.
And we have some other people who wanted to come to Midspace, and they have sent in some questions. So should we go on to some guest questions?
It's time for listener questions.
Heck yeah.
Got a listener questions.
Listener questions.
It's time for listener questions.
Boy, these just get better. Our vocal
Who wants
ability.
to take the first one? Shall I just jump in here?
Get in there.
Get in there, Dickie.
Here's one from Randy.
Get in there.
Oh.
Grab you some.
Randy asks, I'm kind of curious as to what kind of creation myths the inhabitants of Midspace have, if any.
Ooh, Randy, of course you're curious.
Randy.
Well, that's an interesting one. Like creation myths, Midspace itself doesn't have any because it is man-made.
Does everyone believe that?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's no way in hell when you got like millions of people living in one place that they all believe
Shaquille
that.
O'Neal thinks the Earth might be flat. I learned that today.
And I can point you to
so-
a website that proves the moon is built by aliens.
Because yeah, maybe there are people that believe that, yeah, it's like this really sort of backwards like conspiracy theory thing. Midspace isn't actually artificial. It's actually a dying star. So you better get off quick.
Dick, why did you start the episode with this? Holding
Conspiracy
out on me
theories.
that Midspace is actually a dying star? Damn.
Or
Thing is, I have like a sort of a voice of God type thing. If I say Midspace is made from compacted trash, you kind of just have to take me at face value.
what's the
don't you?
difference between compacted trash and a dying star?
Yeah. Well, you know what?
Now you're asking the right question.
You know how we have the idea of like Gaia? I would love to think that on Midspace there are kind of spiritual gurus going around being like, can you not hear Midspace calling to you? The spirit of
And then
Midspace
you know
is there.
that it's the mycelium.
Yeah, but they maybe don't know that, and so they're they think that there is a kind of spiritual voice out there.
I love the
voice
idea
of the
that there
station.
is like a religion that is like grown around. You have these weird, playful
I
little
like that.
spirits.
Love it.
I would definitely join that.
Yeah.
Like maybe like almost like sort of Midspace druids
With
or something.
no
like-
evidence.
I feel like I already ship that in real life because in real life I'm like, listen, we could fix everything right now if we fed the fungal system
Yeah.
because it's everything.
Yeah.
They've already proved
They have.
how it speaks to itself
Yep.
and the trees, like it's keeping stuff alive.
Before dinosaurs, they were
and,
fucking
like,
mushrooms bigger than skyscrapers on Earth.
talking to each other.
Having conversations, chit-chatting,
And here we are,
sidearm.
crapping everything up.
They were having sidearms with each other all the time.
Sidearm.
Sub
That's
to
where
us
we're
on
supposed to
Patreon.
do this. That's where we normally do this.
On a greater level, I mean, there definitely are creation myths within some of the cultures inhabiting Midspace.
Yeah, because everybody brought their own with them
Yeah.
too.
And
So
honestly,
there's probably
you live in
thousands.
this sort of big cosmic gathering of people. It's a little bit harder to like have like really sort of concrete, like we are, the chosen ones put here by this god. I think theology and spirituality in a world where you can travel between planets looks a little bit different than it does on a single world where we really don't have any proof that we could go anywhere else. It's a lot easier
That's a
on
great
Earth
point.
to frame ourselves at the center of everything. But if you know that you are an insignificant speck in something bigger,
I'd like to point you
Your
to the
spirituality
Atoll of
looks different,
Medusa.
doesn't it?
We are the center of everything because our
Yeah.
world goes with us. So,
So you guys, I see exactly what you're saying. Noted.
yep.
Writing that down about you guys for later. But then, like, if your normal is space travel, at what point does that just become what we already have on a bigger scale?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because isn't everything just a micro version of something macro?
Yeah.
Like when you look at pictures of like the fungal system or like a tree root system, and you look at that, and then you look at like a super like zoomed in picture of like the human capillary system
same
or like
shit.
like a lung. or an
Yep.
eyeball, and you see the exact same patterns and shapes. And it's like everything that you have or know is just a micro version of something macro. We look at an ant and we're like, look how small it is. We're an ant for somebody else.
Well, we're big ants, but
yeah, well,
Yeah, I mean, if you keep zooming
We're
out
big
until
ants.
you've got like, oh, boom, here's a whole galaxy.
at what point does space travel just become, we're going to Spain this week?
exactly, yeah.
So maybe there are like, people have these sort of, these great theories about all the life in this one little, pocket of
Ibiza.
space was all put here by this one divine being. And like, we are all in it together. We're all special. Like, it wouldn't know any sort of bounds of like planet or race or
Stephen
anything.
Fry is that
Bless him.
person.
But
Probably.
I mean, the true answer is that we just really haven't come across any theology or spirituality yet in the Backwater Bastards.
Well, I hope
And
we
thus
do,
I've not-
Randy, because
not fleshed any out.
you have
Aside from that big ass coal.
yeah, you have piqued my interest. I would love to hear some more spiritual, some
We
more
gotta dig into
creation
this.
myths of mid-space. Now that you've asked that question, I don't know if I can stop thinking about it.
No, you can't.
I cannot.
But speaking of religion and spirituality and the gathering of many in one place,
Oh,
what about gangs?
What about gangs? Okay,
Somebody asked that, and I forgot to write their name down. So
if you were that somebody, shout out to you.
If you were that somebody, let us know, and that's it. I'll collect a meme for you.
Yeah, we'll give you
In your
one
honor.
meme.
One meme is the payment. But like, what about gangs? We met one. We literally just met one, the 21 Thieves, led by Marcus, right? The Yag.
Yeah, well, there are gangs on Midspace. Most of them
Surprise.
have some sort of affiliation with Princess Zuzu, who herself once controlled a gang, but she eventually outgrew that and now considers herself to control an entire space station.
Okay.
Oh,
Love that for her.
doing well.
But yeah, I mean, there are a lot of gangs. And again, the vast majority of them are under like this umbrella corporation of Uzus. But there are some, like the 21 Thieves, who operate outside of that as well. And they are the ones who have to be very careful. Because although it's a lawless place where crime is the norm, you're supposed to be doing crimes that benefit Princess Zuzu.
Okay.
And if you're not, then, then you definitely are a gang.
The 21 Thieves is definitely a gang because they were not stealing that thing for Zuzu, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
They didn't seem like fans.
No. But it seems like you don't want to give away too much about some other future gangs of mid-space. You're keeping yourself very tight-lipped over there.
I keep myself tight-lipped. I can tell you that
There are gangs.
there are gangs.
there are the remnants of
Now shut up
a
and keep
gang
walking.
that was called Zuzu's Reavers, but is now they're the status quo. Now they're the establishment.
Okay.
Wait, so is that like Dietz's people?
I mean, Dietz is one of them, and a lot of
So
Dietz's
that's how
closest people.
I feel like there's a part of me that wants to know more about like Zuzu and Dietz and their like how they know each other and their
I
backstory.
want an origin story for that.
That's a fun idea because again, like they're pretty different to one
You
another.
know that was spicy.
Mm.
Do you think there was like a secret?
Because Zuzu is much more of like the sort of cool, controlled, single-minded force. Whereas Dietz,
and Dietz
Dietz
is a sloppy little
he's a
fucker.
bit more
Anyway.
unhinged. He's a bit more of like a
Yeah.
You know that they beat the shit out of each other. There's some stuff. There's some castle
Well,
shit.
I don't
going
know how
on
much
there.
of that I can keep in, but all right.
Whoa.
Okay,
Anyway.
and then
That's
we
the gangs.
we have a question from Dag. He asks,
This is important.
"What's the breakfast burrito situation like in midspace?"
100%.
I'd like to know as well. Thank you for your
I'll
question.
tell you one
Dag.
thing. Midspace, definitely, all hours of the day, breakfast food available.
Thank you.
Oh, that's the best.
Thank you for doing the right
Yeah.
thing, Dick.
Thank you.
Because I was sitting here watching like, don't.
Yeah, he's about to say
Don't.
it's only open until 10 a.m. No one's up until 10 a.m. No one's there.
Sorry, yeah.
I mean, if you
if
want to
no.
get breakfast from Fat Breast,
Yeah.
you got to be up before 10.
From Fat Press.
Fat Priest. Well, okay, I can miss breakfast from Fat Priest if it's before 10 a.m.
Okay, listen.
you don't want a breast muffin? Double breast
Yo.
muffin with hash browns?
Why? You know what? If you want to get breakfast at a fast food and it stops at 10 a.m., that's no good.
No.
Because you're either already at work and you can't have it. You don't have time. Or you're not awake.
Yeah.
Because if I don't have to be at work, guess what I'm not doing? waking up at 10.
Yeah.
Waking
Fine,
up before 10.
Mid-space
put
ain't
clothes
like
on.
that. Mid-space, you've
Wash
got,
my face.
obviously there's a lot of market stall type stuff. There's like food market things. Those operate within limited hours because someone's got to like get up and set up all this stuff. They've got to sleep at some time. But then you've got a lot of diners.
I guess.
For me, like the eateries in mid-space is very much American diner kind of situation. I don't know why it is. It just is. That's the
Yeah, I
aesthetic
love it.
for it. And so you can get yourself a breakfast burrito at any time of the day.
Well,
I mean,
we go.
obviously,
think you
people
answered it.
generally, you got to get yourself into work. Yeah, you're just some sort of, between jobs type person, but you've been partying all night and you need a breakfast burrito. You can get one. It's going to be from a food replicator. There's not going to be any real eggs in there. It's going to be a protein that has been created.
What?
Hey, it'll do
Better
the
stop
job.
while you're ahead.
It's going to be full of sauce. It's going to be wrapped up in some sort of bread type wrap.
Well,
A bread.
A bread type wrap.
We're done here. We're done here. Listen,
just 2 more questions.
Dick, do you want to read one?
Yeah.
Maybe I should read one. This one's from Vaperis. How is midspace heated? If it is a rogue planetoid not orbiting a star, it would be bitter cold. They got some fancy runaway greenhouse effect going on. They got a bunch of people shoveling coal into a furnace all day. Maybe it's a mystery and everybody that tries to find out goes missing. Perhaps everybody in midspace is real gassy and it's a giant Dutch oven situation.
Well, some of them are.
Someone's mind's in the gutter.
And that person is Vaparas.
On the Discord. Come join them on our Discord. Link in the show notes.
I'm not sure how to say this one. It could be Viper Ass.
I think it's Vaparis.
I also read it as Viper
right.
Ass. I'm not going to lie. I've been reading it as Viper Ass, and I just thought, well...
Well, after she has been to the toilet, she needs to wipe her ass.
Oh my God.
Okay, keeping it highbrow.
Okay. You completely win.
Yeah.
But okay, we did touch on the opposite end of this when I talked about the night city being very cold because the power's not turned on.
Yeah.
Conversely, downtown and uptown, and actually like the underground directly beneath,
Down in the underground.
has got its temperature relatively sorted. Midspace does have a controlled climate, but it does rely on the power. There's heaters that bring it up to a nice ideal temperature for the majority of the bipedal species living there. And it's really as simple as that. There's a whole lot of heaters built up into the top atmosphere dome. So with the artificial day and night cycles also comes an artificial day and night temperature.
Nice.
And it's just hot air getting blasted down on you.
Nice.
But there is more to the atmospheric controls of midspace. We know that all the oxygen, for example, is being processed by the mushrooms that were put there. And there's a few other little infrastructural things that the Wraiths brought here in the early days that we will discover about midspace eventually, I'm sure.
Oh, more secrets. How very like you, Dickie.
I'm nervous about that. And it's like, really, there was one answer, and it was like, some of us are hot.
Some of us are hot-blooded.
And that's it. That's the answer. And when we leave, everything goes to shit and freezes.
It does.
So, and we have one more. And this question is from Jim. Jimothy.
Jimothy.
Is there anybody on Midspace who would want to bring Midspace onto the political stage with the other 3 factions? And if so, does Dick, who the hell is that? Does Dick know who it would be? Like what would the pros and cons of doing so be? That's what Jim wants to know.
Thank you, Jim.
Read by Cleo.
Yep, that's how we're
Brief
doing
appearance
it.
from Cleo there.
Yeah, I don't know who that is, but cool.
Well, right now, the only person that could exert enough control to enter into some sort of treaty with the factions from Midspace is obviously Princess Zuzu.
Oh.
But it's definitely not in her interests to do so. Because at the moment, she's able to operate without any sort of official constitution or
do
law
whatever
book.
the heck she wants.
Which means, yeah, she can do whatever the hell she wants. She can change the rules on a dime. If
Yeah.
she,
Yeah.
if she wants something, she can at least, give herself permission to take it. Whether or not she can actually physically do that is a different story.
Yeah.
And also, ultimately, people come to Midspace to buy and sell shit that they don't want to get taxed on.
Mm-hmm.
And Midspace would lose all of its allure if Midspace entered into trade agreements or even got co-opted into the Terran Empire, for example.
Yeah.
Then it would just be a dirty, dodgy, dangerous Terran planet.
Oh, that would be horrible.
And what's the point of that, you know? If you've still got to, like, deal with the Terrans and you've still got to pay your taxes and all that sort of thing, it's no longer worth it. And, yeah, I mean, similar thing, like, the synths have no interest in officially co-opting a non-synthetic system or station anyway. They got their own thing going. They are isolationist in that sense.
Okay.
Wraiths, I mean, Zuzu would be well positioned if she were to take up a position of authority in Wraith space. But you get the impression that all the Wraith monarchs who have fled into midspace, into these neutral territories, they've done so very specifically to avoid the responsibilities, tacked on to their lineage, the fact that they are Wraith monarchs. They are expected to actually become warlords and to fight to control a family group and to control a section of Wraith space. So Zuzu has either fled from a more dangerous warlord or has completely just, rebelled and abandoned doing that sort of thing because she wants to live a different life. So again, like the Wraiths probably not going to join up with her.
That's fair.
But I do like the idea of Midspace becoming like the middle of some sort of political intrigue because it is positioned right in the middle there.
Future story arc, perhaps.
Yeah, if something beyond a downright declaration of war were to happen, Midspace is where it would happen.
What would have to happen for Zuzu to want to make an alliance?
Things would have to be maybe a bit dire.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We'll probably never get close to that.
No, we'll be fine and okay.
Everything's good. The worst has passed.
Well, damn, those are all of our listener questions for this week. And if you want to send in questions for future episodes of Lore Dive, you can send them over on our Discord, links in the show notes, or you can send them to us via our email, which is backwaterbastards@gmail.com, or on our Twitter. We will announce on our social medias and in the Discord what the subject will be, kind of like a few days before we do these episodes. So just keep your eyes open for that.
Yes. Yeah, have you got some like interesting questions specific to some part of Backwater Bastards lore? By all means, send those out, whether or not you know what we're going to do next, because we haven't entirely decided just yet. Maybe you'll inspire us.
Oh, isn't that nice?
That's so nice.
I think that's it for our lore dive for now, hey?
That's the dive, baby. Now it's time to come back up for air.
Ooh, so the next time you hear our voices in your ear holes, well, they might. If you're a patron, you might hear the old sidearm. I think we're gonna jump back into a storyline-driven, mainstream continuity Backwater Bastards episode.
That's my favorite thing.
You guys ready for it?
I'm ready for it. I'm always ready for it. I love adventuring.
Yeah. Was there anything that you've learned in this episode that might influence how things are going to go with our next episode? Now that you know a little bit more about Midspace.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
I actually made notes in our thing about Uptown.
Yeah.
Which I didn't realize was a thing.
We're going to need to go there. We're going to need to figure it out. We're going to need to taste the food that they have up there.
We're going to need to figure out how we get to live in Uptown.
I mean, if you're talking
That's a
about
goal.
downtown, doesn't that immediately infer the presence of a mythical uptown?
I don't know.
I hadn't
We're
thought
in
about
space.
that. Yeah. I thought
Wait to
downtown
hear
was
about
already
Sidetown.
uptown. Diagonal town.
That's where we're at right now.
Yeah.
That's the true classist dissection of this whole situation.
Biz up.
What are you talking about, Uptown? What? That's real? So, yeah, I learned about Uptown. I now have, identified that I have a lot of questions about Zuzu that I need to figure out.
Oh, yeah. I'm just so interested in
Just
the story of Zuzu as well. And also, I mean, I know it's
wanna
a
know what
missed
she
point if
did.
you haven't heard Ralaran, but just seeing the connections between Griselda and Zuzu, I'm like, yeah, this is so cool. Because I love Griselda. I thought she was one of the coolest characters of the entire Ralaran arc. So, yeah.
Yeah, I loved Griselda.
Yeah, I love it.
She was just fun in that she was scary, but she was sort of your ally, kind
And
of.
I see that. I see that in Zuzu now that you've mentioned it. I'm like, yeah, there is that.
And I loved Darren, the pompous mage.
Yeah, who we murdered. So
Whoops.
yeah, and I learned that a breakfast burrito can always be had, no matter where you are or what time
That's
it is.
definitely
and,
not true where we live.
I
but
love that. I love that about mid-space.
Whatever.
Makes it
This
definitely
is
a
hell.
destination
That's
that
a
I want to go
good
to.
Well, you could probably get some sort of hipster breakfast burrito once Trevor's got all his stuff
No.
up and running.
Will it be as good?
Original or get out.
Yeah.
It's got lots
Come
of
on.
avocado and
All right. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
That sounds expensive, Dick.
oh yeah, he's spending your money willy nilly.
Whoa,
That,
what?
That Trevor.
No, he's not. We have to put our fingers on the box. Tell him,
We
Dan.
have to put it.
Remember?
We do. It requires our fingers on the box.
Because you wouldn't let us have a credit card.
That was your doing.
So now, look,
We
think
gotta
you
touch
can
it.
spend the money. Unbelievable. What if he's got our fingerprints? Oh my God.
He doesn't need to
Okay.
have his fingerprints. All he's got to do is just convince Cleo that it's a good idea.
Well,
Ugh.
yeah.
If it's food, she's going to be like, yeah, we should do that.
Look,
Great.
It's,
Well,
he puts a burrito on top of something he wants to buy, and like, look, if we buy this burrito, it comes with this thing for free. And I'm like, oh, okay.
well, you didn't even have to tell me that part. I was already in. That's the thing, though. These conversations make me think about all the things I have more questions about.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not even so much that I'm like learning I'm just like, I'm finding more stuff I don't know.
Well, it's
Like, I don't
really,
know what's in the underground.
Yeah.
It's nice to investigate what we don't know because that really does
Yeah.
inform where we might go with the story as well.
Well, then I
'Cause
shoot
ultimately,
the same question right back at you, Dickie. Has today's chat inspired where you might take us next week?
oh, I mean, very much so. I've got to pick. You know,
Holy
like,
heck.
Uh-oh.
which way do we want to go? You know, do we want?
Up or
Wherever those breakfast
down,
burritos
she
are at.
chose down. She chose down. Right. You know, the hand creature from...
What is that? What the fuck
The hand
is
creature
that?
from Labyrinth. She
Oh,
chose
okay.
down.
I'm looking at this like, I don't even hear words in that. Like,
Nothing.
way do you
Nothing.
want to
Tra-la-la. Forget about the baby, Sarah.
I think you should be forced to be that character in an episode soon.
What character?
All these like weirdo characters. Dan has done like 4 voices today that we have never heard before. And I feel like you should have to do this at some point.
Well, we need to start doing some
it's
one-shots.
not really an ask. We have to do some one-shots,
Oh,
guys.
we should set a...
Do you guys want one-shots?
Let us know on our Discord. We will only accept
Let us know.
it on the Discord. You have to join there. Tell us that you want one-shots. And,
Yeah,
and then
that's
we'll
the
do
only
it.
place we're going to listen to this at.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, if
You
you just
know.
point blank ask people, do you want more stuff? Who's going to say no?
someone
Yeah.
might.
This is the thing, Dickie. That we've done it before, where we've said something, and you know, I mean, look, the review system. For some reason, people feel compelled to say, "Hey, 1 star, don't like it." What? Just don't
Yeah.
listen to it. Don't break my heart.
Good idea. Anyway, I think that's where we end our Lord Dive episode.
Oh,
Get off this bus.
thank you, Dickie, for teaching us about Midspace and its inhabitants.
Oh, anytime. And it's, do we go uptown? Do we go Night City? Where does the storyline drag us next? We've got some unvisited zones we need to visit, Stat.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it.
But until then, bye.
Bye.
Sheesh.
Oh my god, it's back.
Tune in next time for another edge of your seat adventure in space with the Backwater Bastards.
If you enjoy listening, but also have eyes, check out our Instagram, where we post drawings, illustrations, character art from our adventures. Backwater_bastards. Check out our Instagram on Instagram.
All right, so Dickie, can we get some food now?
How about those breakfast burritos?
Yeah, I want a breakfast burrito.
I would like a breakfast
Dick,
burrito
show
right
us where
now.
the breakfast burrito was at.
Breakfast
Breakfast burrito, breakfast burrito,
Breakfast burrito, breakfast burrito, breakfast burrito.
Right. Over there, I think. Big sign that says breakfast burritos.
Breakfast burrito.
Is that what that says?